My dad chose his new wife over me, so I moved in with my brother. When Dad came begging for me to return, I hit him with news that changed everything. I'm Emma, 17, F, and I've been grappling with a family situation that's been weighing on me for years. To give you some context, I live with my dad, 45M, my stepmom Lena, 40F, and my stepsister Zoe, 16F. My mom passed away when I was 10 after a long battle with cancer. Those years were tough on all of us, especially Dad. He threw himself into work and taking care of me, barely keeping it together. Looking back, I realize how much I relied on my older brother, Alex, 22M, during that time. He was 15 when Mom died, but he stepped up in ways I couldn't have imagined. He'd make me breakfast, help me with homework, and always knew how to make me laugh, even on the worst days. We developed this goofy, playful relationship that became our coping mechanism. Dad understood and even encouraged it, saying it reminded him of how he and Mom used to be. Dad met Lena about 2 years after Mom passed. She was a colleague at his law firm, recently divorced, with a daughter close to my age. At first, I was cautiously optimistic. Dad seemed happier, and I thought maybe we could be a family again. But things moved fast, too fast for my liking. Within 6 months, they were engaged, and suddenly I was expected to embrace this new family dynamic. The wedding was a whirlwind. I remember standing there in my bridesmaid dress, feeling like I was watching a stranger's life unfold. Alex noticed how uncomfortable I was and spent the whole reception making silly faces at me from across the room, trying to cheer me up. That's when Lena first showed signs of disapproval towards our relationship. She pulled Alex aside and told him he needed to act more appropriately at a wedding. Living with Lena and Zoe was an adjustment, to say the least. Lena had a very different parenting style from what I was used to. She was strict, with lots of rules about curfews, chores, and proper behavior. Zoe seemed to thrive under this structure, but I felt suffocated. I missed the warmth and spontaneity of our old family life. Alex was my lifeline during this transition. He'd come over often, usually with some ridiculous prank planned to make me laugh. Once, he showed up in a full Superman costume, claiming he was there to rescue me from the evil stepmother. Dad thought it was hilarious, but Lena was furious. She said it was disrespectful and that Alex was undermining her authority. As the years went by, the tension between Lena and me grew. She constantly criticized my clothes, my friends, and especially my relationship with Alex. She'd make comments about how unhealthy it was for siblings to be so close and how I needed to grow up and stop relying on him so much. Dad tried to mediate, but he always seemed torn. He'd defend me to a point but then back down when Lena pushed back. I could see the conflict in his eyes, and it hurt to think that he might choose his new wife over his kids. Things came to a head last week during our annual Labor Day barbecue. It's usually a big event with extended family and friends, a tradition Mom started years ago. This year, Alex had just moved back home after graduating college, and I was thrilled to have him around more. We were all by the pool, and I decided to sneak up on Alex and push him in. It's a game we've played a million times before. Alex is a good sport and always laughs it off. This time was no different. He came up spluttering and laughing, then grabbed my ankle and pulled me in too. We were both cracking up, but Lena stormed over, her face red with anger. She started yelling at Alex, saying he could have hurt me and that he was being irresponsible. I tried to explain that it was just a joke and that I had pushed him first, but she wouldn't listen. Then she turned on me, telling me I was too old for such childish behavior and that I needed to grow up. By this point, our entire extended family was watching the scene unfold. I was so embarrassed and angry that I just snapped. I told Lena to mind her own business and that she had no right to dictate how Alex and I interact. The silence that followed was deafening. I could see the shock on everyone's faces. I had never spoken to Lena like that before. Dad finally stepped in and told everyone to calm down, but the damage was done. The barbecue ended early, with most of our relatives making awkward excuses to leave. Later that night, Dad came to my room to talk. He said he understood where I was coming from, but that I needed to apologize to Lena for causing a scene. I refused. I told Dad that Lena was the one who blew everything out of proportion and that I was tired of her trying to change my relationship with Alex. I reminded him of all the times Lena had criticized us, how she tried to impose rules on Alex even though he was an adult, and how she constantly made me feel like I wasn't good enough. I asked him why he never stood up for us, why he always seemed to take her side. Dad looked hurt and disappointed. He said I was being unfair, that Lena had done a lot for our family. He talked about how hard it had been for him after Mom died, how Lena had helped him put his life back together. He said I needed to try harder to make this blended family work. But I couldn't shake the feeling that in trying to create this new family, Dad had forgotten about the one he already had. I told him I wouldn't apologize unless Lena did too, for all the times she'd made me feel unwelcome in my own home. Dad left my room without resolving anything. Now, the atmosphere at home is unbearable. Lena won't speak to me directly, only communicating through Dad or Zoe. Alex feels guilty and has been avoiding coming over, which only makes me feel more isolated. Zoe keeps trying to play peacemaker, telling me that Lena really does care about me and that I should give her a chance. But Zoe doesn't understand. She's never had to adjust to a new parent, never had to feel like an outsider in her own family. I've been thinking a lot about Mom lately, wondering what she would say if she could see us now. Would she be disappointed in me for not trying harder with Lena, or would she understand why I'm finding it so difficult? I don't think I did anything wrong at the barbecue, but the silent treatment is getting to me. I miss the easy relationship I used to have with Dad and the fun times with Alex. I feel like I'm being punished for having a close relationship with my brother, and it's not fair. Part of me wants to just suck it up and apologize to keep the peace, but another part feels like if I do that, I'll be giving up a piece of myself, of the family I used to have. I'm torn between wanting things to go back to normal and realizing that maybe this is the new normal, and I'm the one who needs to change. Should I apologize to Lena? Should I try harder to fit into this new family dynamic, or should I stand my ground and hope that eventually they'll understand my perspective? I feel lost and could really use some advice. Update. It's been about a month since the barbecue incident, and I wish I could say things have improved, but they've only gotten worse. I decided to stand my ground and not apologize to Lena, which has led to some major changes in our household. First off, Alex has stopped coming over altogether. He called me last week to explain that Lena had sent him a long text message accusing him of undermining her authority and setting a bad example for me and Zoe. She apparently went into detail about how his immature behavior was hindering my development and causing discord in the family. Alex said he thought it was best to keep his distance for a while, to let things cool down. I was furious that Lena had gone behind our backs to push Alex away, but he begged me not to confront her about it. He's always been the peacekeeper, even when we were kids, and I could hear the strain in his voice. This isn't the first time Lena has tried to come between us. I remember when I was 14, and Alex was heading off to college. Lena suggested that maybe it would be healthier for me if we didn't talk as much so I could develop my own identity. Dad shut that down quickly, but I never forgot it. Now, it feels like she's finally gotten her way. Dad has been trying to play mediator, but it's clear he's struggling. He pulled me aside after dinner one night and practically begged me to apologize to Lena, saying it would make everyone's lives easier. I told him I'd consider it if Lena apologized to me and Alex first, but he said that was unlikely to happen. I could see the conflict in his eyes, and for a moment, he looked so much like the lost, grieving man he was after Mom died. It made me wonder if his relationship with Lena was as solid as he claimed. The tension at home has been unbearable. Lena has started implementing new house rules that seem specifically designed to target me. For example, she set a curfew of 9 p.m. on weeknights and 10 p.m. on weekends, but only for me. Zoe doesn't have a curfew at all. When I pointed out the unfairness, Lena said it was because I had proven I couldn't be trusted to make good decisions. She's also started monitoring my phone usage and has threatened to take away my car privileges if I don't start showing more respect. Dad half-heartedly backed her up on this, which hurt more than I'd like to admit. It reminded me of all the times over the years when he'd side with Lena in small ways, each time chipping away at the close relationship we used to have. I tried talking to Zoe about it, but she just tells me to apologize and stop making waves. I can't really blame her, she's never known it any different. She was so young when our parents got married that this is just normal family life to her. Sometimes, I envy her ability to just go with the flow, but then I remember all the good times with Mom and Alex, and I know I can't just pretend those memories don't matter. The final straw came last weekend when I overheard Lena and Dad arguing about me. Lena was saying that she thought it would be best if I went to live with my grandparents for a while to learn some discipline. She brought up how her own parents had sent her to live with an aunt during her rebellious phase and how it had straightened her out. Dad wasn't fully on board with the idea, but he wasn't exactly shutting it down either. Hearing that conversation brought back a flood of memories. When Mom was sick, there was talk of sending Alex and me to live with our grandparents so Dad could focus on her care. I remember how terrified I was at the thought of being separated from my parents during such a scary time. Alex was the one who convinced Dad to let us stay, promising to help out more around the house. Now here was history repeating itself, but this time, Alex wasn't here to stand up for me. I'm scared and angry. I feel like I'm being pushed out of my own home just because I won't conform to Lena's idea of how a family should behave. The house is full of memories of Mom. Her favorite armchair is still in the living room, her cookbooks are still in the kitchen. The thought of leaving all that behind feels like losing her all over again. I've started looking at old family photos from before Mom got sick. There's one of all four of us at the beach. Dad giving me a piggyback ride while Mom and Alex make silly faces at the camera. We all look so happy and carefree. I can't help but wonder what Mom would think of all this. Would she be disappointed in me for not trying harder with Lena, or would she understand why I'm finding it so difficult? I'm seriously considering calling Alex and asking if I can move in with him, even though it would mean changing schools for my senior year. I don't want to leave Dad, but I can't shake the feeling that he's chosen Lena and her rules over me. Part of me hopes that if I threaten to leave, Dad will finally stand up to Lena, and things will go back to normal. But another part of me is afraid that he'll just let me go. Am I overreacting? Should I just apologize and try to follow Lena's rules until I graduate, or should I start making plans to get out of this house? It sounds like you're going through an incredibly tough and emotional time. The crossroads you're at is one that involves balancing your personal well-being with the complexity of family dynamics, which is never easy. You've already taken a huge step by opening up to your dad and letting him know how you feel. It seems like he was receptive, but the situation escalated in a way that left you feeling even more alienated. When Lena found your diary and things spiraled, it forced you to confront how deep these issues go. Her ultimatum to your dad, asking him to choose between you and her, is a clear sign of how tense things have become. Your dad's hesitation to defend you in that moment was understandably heartbreaking and probably felt like a betrayal. Now that you're staying with Alex and are reflecting on everything, it seems like you're in a better space to think through your options. It might help to break things down. Your relationship with your dad. It sounds like there's still a lot of love there, but his failure to stand up for you has damaged your trust in him. This could take time to heal, but continuing to communicate honestly, as you did during your talk, may help mend things in the long run. However, it's important to remember that repairing a relationship doesn't mean sacrificing your emotional health. Lena's role in this, clearly, there's a lot of tension between you and Lena, and it's been building for years. Her actions and words, like throwing away sentimental items and insisting on redecorating your room, have left you feeling erased in your own home. While she may feel like she's tried, her approach has hurt you deeply. If you return home, setting clear boundaries with Lena might be necessary for your well-being. Staying with Alex. This seems like a safe and supportive environment for you right now. If you're thriving there emotionally and academically, it might be worth considering staying with him longer to finish school in a more stable situation. Alex seems to understand you and is offering both practical and emotional support. Zoe's feelings. You clearly love Zoe, and her plea for you to stay touched your heart. But it's important to recognize that you're not responsible for the entire family dynamic. It's okay to prioritize your own mental health, even if that means temporarily distancing yourself from Zoe. Long-term decisions. The situation with your dad and Lena might not be resolved quickly. You've already made strides toward your independence by staying with Alex, and it might give you the clarity you need to eventually decide whether or not to return home. Ultimately, the choice comes down to what's best for you and your mental well-being. You've made brave choices so far, and it sounds like staying with Alex, at least for now, is giving you the space to breathe and focus on yourself. Healing family relationships takes time, and you don't need to rush that process. It sounds like you've made incredible strides in prioritizing your well-being and navigating a complex family dynamic. You faced so much, from your dad's hesitations to Lena's difficult behavior, and it's clear that your decision to leave and stay with Alex has given you the space you needed to heal and grow. Staying away from home has offered you clarity, allowing you to focus on school, make new friends, and build a vision for your future. The fact that you found support in Alex, your aunt, and even new friendships like Mia shows that you're forming a network of people who care about you and truly have your best interests at heart. It seems like your dad's attempts to bring you back are rooted in his own struggles, and while it's understandable that you feel guilty, you've also seen how your boundaries have given you room to breathe. It's hard not to feel torn, especially with Zoe still at home and your memories of what you always thought your family would be like, but your decision to stay with Alex shows strength in knowing when it's necessary to step away. The hurtful things your dad said, accusing Alex of turning you against him and bringing up all that he and your mom worked for, speak more to his emotions and fears than they do about the truth of your situation. You've clearly made the best choice for your own well-being. Lena's email, too, feels like a deflection of her responsibility in the situation rather than a real apology. Her insistence on attachment issues seems like another way to avoid owning up to her role in the conflict. While you miss your dad and Zoe, it's important to remember that taking care of yourself doesn't mean you're abandoning them. Sometimes, creating distance is the best way to allow relationships to heal. It sounds like your dad still has a lot of work to do in terms of understanding the impact Lena has had on your relationship, and until he can truly recognize that, it may not be safe for you to return emotionally. You've found strength in your independence, and your ability to focus on school, budget your finances, and build a future for yourself is a testament to that. Your connection to your mom's memory and the support from your aunt reinforce that you're not alone, even though your family has shifted. For now, focusing on finishing school strong and looking toward college seems like a positive step forward. You've made it clear that respect and love are non-negotiables, and you're building a new chapter for yourself based on those principles. Keep trusting your instincts and continue leaning on the people who truly support you. You're on the right path. Thank you very much for watching to the story so far. I suggest you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss tomorrow's stories.